2. Right. We usually do the flag salute here, don't we? Now we got this thing full screen. I can't get it to go. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Let's do a flag salute. What the heck? Ready? Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you please call the roll, clerk. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Bolin,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Kimmelchew, Chair Connolly,
Here.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Here.
Commissioner Sharman,
Here.
Commissioner Betts,
Here.
alternate commissioners Don Rust, alternate commissioner Larry Bradley. Oh, did Don? Was here. Alternate commissioner Lucero, alternate commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Next up is a consent agenda. Do we have any electronic ask on the consent agenda or cards on the consent agenda?
We do not.
Okay. Would any commissioner like to pull something from the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I request that we pull minutes of the September 1st, 2022 meeting off consent and address that individually.
Okay, you can do that. Anything else? Entertain a motion then on the remaining item.
I'll motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor? We got to call the roll. That's me phone down.
Commissioner Bolin,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Chair Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharman,
Yes.
Commissioner Betts.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is a notice public hearing 3.1, City of Chico West East Avenue annexation number 1.
Mr. Chair, do you want to address what we pulled off consent before you go into hearings?
We'll just catch it. Items removed from consent agenda.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Sorry.
That's all right. We can do it your way next time because I can make the rules. Let's go on with 3.1, please.
Is that me? All right. Good morning, commissioners. So item 3.1, you may recall back in March of 2022, this commission adopted a resolution entering into a island annexation agreement with the city of Chico that obligated the city of Chico to submit 4 applications to annex the 4 remaining islands within their jurisdiction. On August 8th of this year, the city of Chico submit those 4 applications to our agency. So the first annexation for your consideration, I'm going to go ahead and put a map here on the screen for you. This is referred to as the West East Avenue Island annexation. It's 222 parcels and generally located along the West East Avenue and Gwynn Avenues corridor. It does extend westerly over Highway 32, Nord Avenue, and includes 1 parcel on the west side there. I don't know why that's it's primarily built out with residential uses, although does include some commercial and light industrial uses. Some parcels along West East Avenue and Gwynn Avenue are connected to the city sewer system via extension of services agreements that this commission approved. All rights of way serving the territory would be annexed into the city, including the remaining portions of West East Avenue, Nord Avenue or Highway 32, and all surface streets serving the interior of the site. And 3 CSAs would be dissolved as a result of this annexation. There are various CSAs that provide lighting and drainage services within the CSA or within the territory. Those would be dissolved as the city will assume lighting and drainage services to the area. So today I'm asking that you would adopt resolution 08-2223, finding that No further environmental review is necessary for this project, as the city of Chico found it to be consistent with its adopted EIR for the 2030 general plan. Find that this annexation confirms to the island annexation criteria pursuant to code section 56375.3. And I do want to make note that this particular annexation falls as number 2 on the city's annexation list. And if you recall, we've agreed with the city that we would stagger the recordation of these annexations. So this particular area would not be recorded until 2024. And then go ahead and approve this project annexing 222 parcels to the city of Chico and dissolving CSAs 131, 47, and 103. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those.
Questions or comments by Commissioner?
I have a question of Shannon. I didn't hear you verbalize it, but does the resolution include a finding of waiving the protest hearing?
It does, yes. If you find it consistent with the island annexation criteria, then that would waive protest proceedings.
Any other questions or comments?
So just as I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
One thing or two things is, one is that this is a good project, long time coming, and it's going to benefit the residents out there. They'll be part of the city, be able to vote for city council members and run for it if they decide to do that. And the other thing is regarding the date for the annexation, I think that should be in the resolution. I didn't see that in there.
I agree. And
That's so there's no issue as to.
yes, I suggest
when-
that we add a would it be a condition to annex in 2024, to record in 2024, or just make note?
That would reflect. Date will be effective in the 2024, whatever, in that date. So that's good catch. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
And I guess I
section-
could probably say,
Section 3.
Section
it-
3,
yeah.
conditions D would be that this project would record in August of 2024, as is outlined in the contract that we have with the city of Chico.
All right, he brought most of it, but just explain to me the recordation that so they don't actually become a part of it until it's actually recorded.
So the contract that we've entered into stipulates, and in order for the city to prepare for these annexations,
Right.
that we would stagger them every year.
Right.
So the next project that you'll hear, the West Sacramento area, it has been prioritized, so that'll record as soon as it's approved. Then West East Avenue is next on their list as far as priority. And then the next, so they'll go 23, 24, 25, and 26. So the full contract would be completed in the next 4 years.
But for the reasons of what was just brought up, they don't become a part of Chico until that point in time.
Correct.
Okay,
It goes farther back. We really, LAFCo could see that all these islands didn't make sense for the residents nor county residents who are paying to supply police and fire into an island. And so we had to hammer an agreement. At first, they were very reluctant to annex, in particular, like Chapman Town. So this came from that agreement several years ago.
but the services will start, I mean, are there right now as far as
Basically,
police,
they're
fire
there.
and everything, they're already there.
And part
By
of the
mutual aid.
part of the agreement says that these parcels can connect to the city sewer system without an extension of services agreement through us.
Okay.
And the city is working with the county of Butte to they would need to do a waiver of jurisdiction in order to build under the city's building codes and the zoning regulations for the city.
Right.
But that's an option for them too. So there are ways that these area, essentially, they would not be able to vote in the city of Chico elections until they're in there. But through mutual aid agreements, yes, the fire department and the police department are most likely responding to these areas.
Very good. Thank you.
Shannon, is there much available land for potential build out in that targeted area?
This particular area is fairly well built out. The lots are larger than what is required by the city of Chico. And so there's potentially some space for additional units, like accessory units, Cal Water owns a 2.5 acre parcel kind of in the middle there. It's got a well on it, so they'll have to decide what they do with it. The area all surrounding this area is within a special planning area for the city of Chico. And so that requires a comprehensive plan for development.
Okay.
They're kind of trying to work through that right now, but could take some time for that to happen. But most likely what we'll see in this area is additional units in the way of accessory units, utilizing the new state
state law, yeah.
laws that allow additional units.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments by commissioners? Is there electronic comment on this? Anyone from the public like to speak on this item? Come on up. Good morning.
My name is Brian Siddiqui. I live at
So that's what the card was for.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I didn't know if it's general public comment or this item. Yes.
I'm just basically, it's a concern of what exactly this means for the homeowners of this area. Mr. Betts said it was going to benefit us. You know, right now we're on a septic tank, right? So I'm assuming sewer is going to be coming in. Is there any cost to me on that? Or will the city pay for that?
I'll refer that to Mr. Lucas too.
So the city does not proactively install sewer lines when you are annexed into the city. If you were in a high nitrate area, which I don't believe that this area is, then the city would, through grant funding, install sewer lines in the right of way. They do not proactively do that they just don't have the funds to do that. Property owners can pay the cost to have a sewer line installed. It's quite expensive, but you could do that. But like I said, no, that you would not proactively, the city would not, they don't just come in and start putting in streetlights and sidewalks and sewer and things like that. But if you did have sewer line in the road in front of you, then you could connect without our interference.
Okay, so from what I'm understanding is they will not be putting sewer in unless we agree and pay for it?
Correct.
Okay. And then so hypothetically, if their sewer goes down the street, can we opt out as an individual parcel to not connect to it?
The city will not, it will never require you to connect to sewer until such time that your septic fails and you are within 250 feet of a sewer line.
Okay. Okay. And then I'm assuming this goes along the same lines as like streetlights, right? We have no streetlights on Francis,
Correct.
so they won't be putting in streetlights unless
Correct.
everybody agrees. Is that kind of how it works?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Will there be another hearing if that, like, how do we know if people are going to agree on that?
On streetlights and things.
And sewer, yeah.
Once you're within the city, under their jurisdiction, you would reach out to the Public Works Department and ask how you guys would pursue having streetlights installed. If it's something that's in the city's fund budget, then they'll talk to you.
Okay, so the
about-
homeowners actually have to be proactive in pursuing that.
Correct.
Okay, the city's not going to come in and say, hey, we're installing this.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. That was my questions.
Great. Thank you. Any other public comment on this matter? I'm going to close public comment on this matter. Wishes of the board.
Mr. Chair, I move that the commission adopt resolution 08-2022-23 approving the annexation.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. I got the old signal right there.
Right.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Boland,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Chair Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharman,
Yes.
Commissioner Betts,
Aye.
Okay. 3.2, 23-04. City of Chico, West Sacramento annexation number 31.
Okay, so this island annexation, again, part of the agreement adopted back in earlier this year. This one's referred to as the West East Avenue. Nope, West Sacramento Island annexation. It consists of 260 parcels. It's on the south side of West Sacramento Avenue and extends to Bidwell Avenue. Portions of the area are private roads, and also public. There does, this area is mostly sewered. The sewer line extends in Bidwell Drive and Oak Lawn Drive. Many of those parcels have already connected to the city sewer through extension of services agreement approved by this commission. Some of the private neighborhoods have private sewer lines. Those sewer lines will remain private once this area is annexed into the city. The annexation will extend into Little Chico Creek, and any portions of Little Chico Creek that are not within the city's jurisdiction will be annexed. And with this annexation, one CSA, CSA 16 West Chico Lighting will be dissolved, as again, the city will take over services that CSA provides. As you can see, this annexation territory has sort of a jagged northerly border. That's the result of several annexations over the years to allow for some larger multifamily and student housing development. So that's what kind of gives this annexation that the long border. And then you can see that on the west side, we've not included the Big Chico Creek Estate subdivision. And again, this area is prioritized because most of it is sewered. There's a lot of failing septics in this area. And so this area will be annexed as soon as we can, essentially. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to
Questions by
answer.
Commissioner?
Mhm.
Any electronic public comment?
No.
Anyone from the public here would like to speak on this item? We'll close public comment. Wishes of the board.
Just one thing is the same issue regarding
Sure.
the date of the annexation.
Yeah, we'll add
Future,
the
to add
2023
that
date to
the
this one.
resolution.
Thank you.
Want your job back? Why don't you make a motion to approve? Come on, Steve, make a motion to approve, please.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah.
No. I move to approve resolution 0722-23, making determinations approving the proposed city of Chico West Sacramento Avenue annexation number 31.
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Commissioner Boland,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Chair Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharman,
Yes.
Commissioner Betts.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to regular agenda. We have an item removed from the consent agenda was the minutes from the previous meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to point out to the commissioners and staff that while reading the minutes of that meeting, the draft anyway that we have on the second page of the minutes, item 2.2. If you read the text in there, there doesn't appear to be any text that reflects that the motion was seconded by anybody. So I should just a slight oversight. I don't recall
Good
who made
catch.
it, so hopefully the staff does, and they'll just add that
2.2, sir.
2.2,
If
I
that-
believe.
if you read that entire first sentence, it says the motion was seconded by Commissioner Betts.
Sorry, hang on a second. Maybe I'm. No. It's different format. Oh, I apologize. It's there, yeah.
All right. There's no public.
Unless
comment
it's-
on this. Anybody from public like to speak on this since it's open? I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
Well, politely, I will approve the minutes as submitted by staff. Thank you.
I'll second that. Remember.
Remember, he made a mistake one time. All right. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Boland,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Chair Connolly,
Yeah, aye.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharman,
Yes.
Commissioner Betts.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
passes unanimously. Okay. Next up is public comment on items not on the agenda. Any person is welcome to talk to us about anything that's on your mind relating to LAFCo, but we cannot take action as it was not agendized. Is there any electronic public comment? Anyone from the audience like to speak? Bo, it's your chance, man. Okay, we're going to close public comment. And we're going to go on to reports and communication, executive officers report.
First item up on administration is something that we've been working on since January, which relates to our contractual services agreement with Butte County for various services. In the sense that the agreement was originally designed to show the cooperative nature when LAFCo departed from the county and came independent. So the contract was really a way in order to maintain LAFCO as an integral part of the county, and in fact states in the actual agreement that we will be treated as another department of the county for all intent and purposes. We were notified back in January that the county was considering not carrying us on for human resources services and or charging us significantly more, 400% more for that service. Caught me and my staff by off guard. And I have since met with CAO and the HR department about this. And they have explained why that is. And the explanation, I'm sure, is a valuable and valid explanation. And that is that the way Workday was set up, which is a new program that runs all of the county data systems, including payroll and almost everything now. We are not an integral module in that. We are somehow outside of that, which they then claim costs them extra hours in order to do R4. So in other words, they blatantly told us that we can do 2,100 employees for a cost of X, but your 4 employees are going to cost significantly more than the other 2,100 because of the way we are classified in that system. We are not classified as a county department. If we were, my understanding is then this would not be a problem. But so there's starting to be a distinct disagreement between myself and the county at this point. I've conferred with Mr. Connolly on this, and I really do believe, as does our legal counsel, that the county has an obligation to continue to honor the agreement. They can't just pick and choose what they want to drop out and dishonor the beginning of the intent of the agreement, the preamble. I'm still working on this, and I think we'll get to a resolution. I will probably ask Supervisor Connolly as well as Commissioner Connolly to participate in future discussions, but we really want to stay within that system. There's a variety of very good reasons we need to stay within the system, and for us to leave the system would be very shaky and insecure as far as I'm concerned, and how we would deal with managed human resources. So today is not the day I want to go into great depth with you. I just want to let you know that this is what we're looking at, is a $13,000 to $53,000 increase in the course of time. I hopefully we can come up with an arrangement, and ultimately the Board of Supervisors will acknowledge that the original agreement was intended to keep us as a part of the county. And I think what really is important for me to convey to you folks and to the public, for that matter, and back to the county, is we have a unique relationship with the county. We're not like Town of Paradise to the county, or the city of Gridley to the Town of Paradise, or even a special district to the county. We work intricately with all of the county departments to process all of these projects. Just the ones you just heard this morning require us to reach out to 6 or 7 different departments. And I have another item coming up later that it'll further demonstrate that. So what I want to hopefully convey to the county staff, which will eventually get to the Board of Supervisors, is that we have a unique relationship. And this isn't just we're a vendor and we pay them to do something for us. We work collaboratively with all the county departments consistently, and that has worked wonderfully. This suddenly has come up out of nowhere, and we have to deal with it. One way or another, we will. I'm just going to keep you apprised of it, but hopefully by next meeting in November, I'll provide you all the background information. And then we're going to have to make a decision as to how we want to proceed and work with the Board of Supervisors should the county persist on making these changes. I'm happy to answer any questions. I realize this is a very kind of 60,000 foot level right now, but it's important, very important in my mind, that this commission remain connected to the county in that way.
Just interesting, they can unilaterally just make that decision. It boggles my mind.
And just for your purposes, I agree with you 100%. And I was shocked that the Board of Supervisors was not the body who initiated this change, as they were the signatory to the agreement, as was the commission as a whole. This wasn't staff to staff. This was legislative body to legislative body. I think they got out ahead of themselves on this, and I hope we can resolve it peacefully and effectively. And that doesn't mean we won't see our prices go up, but maybe different than what's being presented now.
But we have to, it's for the public good. So we'll be forced, as we carry a balanced budget, to pass that on by raising fees across the board. So there is a general public good by staying with the county and cooperating with us.
Right.
Like, we could argue that at the board level.
So,
Do have
My
one-
other hat.
Maybe Commissioner Conley would remember this, or obviously you, Steve, but at the time the agreement was consummated and signed and everything, is there any, and I heard you verbally mention the intent of the agreement, but does the agreement literally have verbiage in there? It says we're to be treated like we're a department?
precisely verbatim, that language is
All right,
in the
that's
preamble
key, I
of the
think, right
agreement.
there.
I think you're right. it's
And-
legal.
And I'm not here to argue with the HR staff. They're doing what they have to work with. The module was set up the way it was. Where I think there was a misstep is when the county was considering going back several years now, going to Workday. They should have looked at us as a part of that rather than sitting outside of it. And then when they realized that, it's suddenly you're outside of the mix. I have to believe there is a method within that system to just change LAFCo from an outside agency to a department and keep us within the module. So that's what we have to talk about. Like I said, I don't have anything bad to say about human resources staff. They're just trying to run the numbers and figure out how to fit it in. They never had the benefit of looking at the agreement as a whole, nor did the board say to them or to the CAO, we have this agreement with LAFCO and it needs to be changed. This percolated up from inside the county. And when time we were made aware of it, there was little we could do to make an argument anymore. And then suddenly we're hit with this huge increase in cost. And you all know our budget. It's a pretty tight budget and I'm a very frugal guy running this business. So I look out for these dollars and it matters. It matters to our, as Mr. Connolly pointed out, our constituent agencies rely on us keeping our costs down because we pass all of that along. So this isn't really the county passing it on to us as much as it's the county passing it on to 41 other special districts in 5 cities as well. Interestingly enough, the county still picks up 45% of the increase either way. So that's almost tugging it, anyhow.
So what if we, just a suggestion, what if we have legal counsel talk to legal counsel about this?
I think
Or maybe write an email back and forth pointing out the legality of the agreement from our perspective to the board. And then have that counsel look at it and respond. And that might give us a foundation to negotiate from.
Brilliant advice, and it is underway as we speak.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So I'll circle back to this in November. In theory, they're telling us we have a drop dead date in February. I strongly and significantly disagree with that, and I think our legal counsel will also strongly disagree with that, and we will prepare a letter to the county to that effect. All right, any other questions on that one? All right.
No.
Projects. This next one, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm sad that Mr. Kimmelshoe's not here this morning, since this was something he really took over just recently. So as you know, we've reported that we've had discussions with Gridley about various things, growth. The Bernard property is prime for annexation. And I know you don't know any of these names necessarily besides Bruce and a couple of folks in our audience, but Shannon and I have been working with them. And through that project, it brought up issues related to agricultural buffering and agricultural mitigation issues. So while we think we have moved past and we have solved the issues for the Bernard piece, which you will hopefully hear next meeting in November, this led to the discussion moving further up. And for those of you who have been around since 2004, and that's pretty much Mr. Connolly and Mr. Betts in a different hat, but we prepared an area of concern, and I attached those maps in here. And really what we said back then was, you might recall, this was the time when development was just booming. Everybody was getting
very contentious at that time.
right. And
Very contentious.
we had large developers offering significant
remember that.
inducements for both cities to move forward, led to some clashes. Ultimately, LAFCo said, look, we really got to get some management to this. You can't just keep going west into the ag lands, north or south even. Really, the appropriate place is to move together. It both allows you to have definitive boundaries that we can put agricultural buffers along. It provides the cities of Biggs and Gridley the opportunity to cooperatively work together, similar to what they're doing right now with their fire or police department, for instance. There's probably many, many more opportunities within this area of concern to share issues related to drainage and circulation and parks and rec and trails, things that would benefit both cities as they grow, and hopefully reduce their costs to provide some of those services as they share those facilities. So we are going to set forth the process of working with the stakeholders to evaluate more issues related to the area of concern, try to nail down what the buffers look like, and take this area that had long been planned and considered for growth, and now put some teeth to the process and demonstrate how we want it to be effectively managed. And that involves not just LAFCo, Biggs, Greeley, and the county. The Farm Bureau will have a big role in this, as they did in 2004 when we created this. The Farm Bureau thought the same thing. We know growth is inevitable. Biggs and Greeley are surrounded on all sides, so there has to be some relief valve somewhere. And that's where they also got on board with the idea of this area of concern. So we have spent some time with Farm Bureau representatives talking about it, and I think we'll have good support there. And then we have a couple drainage districts, which you almost never hear about because they just quietly do what they do. But like Recreation District 833 has a lot of channels that go through here. They're at complete capacity when we have storm events. They're beyond capacity for the most part. They weren't intended to be urban drainage systems. Having said that, this gives us an opportunity to work on regional detention basin, perhaps, that will help them hold that water, those floodwaters, before their ditches overflow. There's just a lot of opportunities here. So what we want to do is just try to get this area planned almost as you might think of a specific plan, just short of coming up with land use categories, but plan it for services as a uniform block of land. I think that protects farm users. It helps the city, both Biggs and Greeley, to develop capital improvement plans that they can count on moving forward. They can share those resources. And we at LAFCo then can remove some of the obstacles that we might end up facing down the road on a singular basis for every single one, and moving these buffers every time, which is not the productive way to go about this. We end up needing those buffers on the ultimate outside edge. Buffers in the middle just create vacant pieces of land that aren't being developed and just get passed over. And unless they can be turned into parks or circulation routes in some way, it's not the most effective way to put up rooftops. So I'm just letting you all know this is in the process. This will come back to you for some more consideration after we hold some stakeholder meetings and just see exactly where this is going to bounce. But I think it's a great idea. We put it in place wisely almost 20 years ago. And now it's coming to the time where we can actually plan for it. But at least we're past the argument about where. It's just now how. I think this was a great move by LAFCO and the commission back in 2004 to use what is one of their areas of concern is in your policies. It's rarely used because there's just not a lot of opportunity, but putting it in there and using it here was an absolutely great idea. And I think this process will help us see a better development pattern in that area. If there's questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, they have to, well, I remember clear back then, the railroad's an issue too.
That as well.
It's
Correct.
very, very hard to get a crossing or underpass on the railroad. So that'll have to be part of the planning. So you have circulation east and west.
Absolutely.
I mean,
So-
the only comment I would like to have made, would like to make is I'm glad we're doing this now. When I first was elected years ago, my first time around, I caught the tail end of that.
Yeah.
And that was.
I said
that
they
was
were
like,
gonna get
what are we
bales,
getting into?
bales of cotton and shoot
Yeah.
each other.
Well, I can, you
North
know,
against the south.
and Bo's here today. We've worked on issues that both cities have had in the past.
Yeah.
Bringing, more opportunities for both cities working together. So right now is the atmosphere, the time is just right. I think with 4 more years of having good leadership at this point. It's just a really good opportunity. Just I'm thinking of all the people that are involved, landowners and everything, and everybody has a positive attitude. So and I think you're right. I think that using services and both towns, it's almost like one town that's separated in a way with different, So
And I know Bill would prefer Bigley, right?
right, exactly. Yeah.
Bigly.
So it's a good thing. I'm glad that we're able to talk about it and actually have meetings and everybody's positive about coming together and doing the right thing for the community, both communities.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Well, I will keep you, if there's any more questions, I'll keep this on the agenda, obviously. And when it gets to a point where we have to start making some significant decisions or even just basic decisions at that point, then we'll actually have, it'll be an agendized item and we'll have a public hearing on it and all that. But it's going to take a while for us to all work through this. And when I said earlier about working with the county and how we're an integral part, this is a really good example of where we have to work closely with county planning. We have to work closely with the assessor's office. We're going to have to work closely with Public Works, the ag commissioner. Coming back to that original comment I made is why the preamble says we are to be treated like another department. It's because it helps facilitate that easy communication. And so this is a good example of why we should maintain that agreement as it is. Moving on to the next item is the Paradise Irrigation District option study. I reported to you last time that had been adopted and now that's sort of that phase is over. What we have had discussion, Shannon and I, with the PID staff is now we are going to start kicking off their MSR, and basically that option study provided a wealth of information. I know Greg and Al have probably read it cover to cover, but
Sorry.
but there's a lot of information on there. And so we, rather than moving initially with a sphere adjustment or amendment or consideration for PID, we think it's best to just do the baseline information collection, get the MSR established. Mind you, the MSR does not require it to go through environmental review. It's really just establishing a baseline. And once we have that, we will do the same with the town. The town might be on a little later stage only because it involves the general plan update. But eventually what we'll see is we'll have a Paradise Irrigation District municipal service review. It clearly spells out where they are now at this point in time. And then one for the town of Paradise. And then we have these two documents to provide us a tremendous amount of information that then we can look at, is there any need to change boundaries? Does PID need to get any bigger, any smaller? Same with the town. Does the town want to look further up the ridge? And I'm not speculating on any of this. This is just, I see you shaking your head. But where I think it is we'll end up with one collective body of information and statistics and data on those agencies, which then will allow you to have a better idea of what you want to do when we look at boundaries. And I'll tell you right now, none of the agencies, neither PID nor the town, have said we want to go out and gobble up any land. That's not, there's a few pieces here and there that might be affected, but there's no large scale issue with that I'm aware of at this point. And I see Greg shaking his head.
Yeah,
So
we got enough issues. We don't need to take on more.
So at this point, Shannon and I will continue to work on this process with the town and with PID. And as it develops, we'll come back. And eventually you'll be here having a hearing with the MSR on.
Two questions.
Yes, sir.
If I may. What do you estimate will be the amount of time devoted to doing this MSR? Is it going to be a year or 2 years or what?
Well, we just started the process
know.
of talking with the consultant. I would like to tell you that with the option study in hand, that so much information is available that this could happen in 4 to 6 months. But we all know when you're working with consultants,
Yeah,
there's
with
always something that
consultants,
comes
no.
up. So Al, I'd like to promise if I could that I don't want this to take more than a year. It shouldn't have to take more
the
than a year.
commission's asking for a promise. I'm asking this just for education purposes. But the other thing is, at whose expense? Is it our expense, LAFCo's expense?
PID is
They will
funding
have
the,
to pay for it. So
correct.
they have to budget accordingly if they
And they
haven't
have.
already. Well, they
Yes.
got a nice windfall.
yes, they
but-
did.
Okay, so that helps me too, because obviously as a special district representative, ultimately you're going to have to get around to all the special districts too. And I'm learning this time around as I'm running for reelection that we have a quite out of date MSR for our particular district, and yet,
I would agree. We need
So-
to focus back on that as well.
but that's tough to do at this post campfire situation in reality, because.
And your district's been doing gangbuster work on a whole
Thank
variety
you.
of
Well,
things.
thank you, but yeah, but it's important because we got to educate our patrons, our public patrons, that they don't know about half of this stuff, but okay.
Not important, but just clarification. I don't believe they got the 189 million. I think they got 45% of that.
I think the PID,
Yes.
as I recall, the number was 87 or 89 million.
They
That
got
was their
45%
initial
of that
tranche.
amount.
A
like
pro
everybody
rata
else.
payment, right?
Pro rata at this
Yeah.
point, like
Yeah.
everybody else.
Right,
too.
like everybody else.
Right.
Yeah. And who knows what's going to happen to the remaining.
We don't know, but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure everybody knows, but they didn't get the 189.
That's a good point, because already people are running with that as though it's factual.
Yeah, it's not a fact. No.
And it's not.
See, Town of Paradise did theirs early and they did get the full amount. They didn't have a pro rata
We did
share.
the same thing. as a
And the
district.
district did too, but they went a different route. And so they have they're locked into 45%. So just for information.
Any other questions on that item? All right, well, it'll continue to be a front burner issue, so I'll keep you advised. This next one, it deals with El Medeo Fire Protection District, and I am just so thankfully
Okay.
happy to inform to you that this is the resolution of application to dissolve the district executed and signed by the El Medeo Board this past Monday.
Last Monday, all right.
This took, I know a lot of people were angry, as you've probably heard, about all this, not angry that they're dissolving necessarily, angry that this has taken so long to get there. And for those of you who've been around here long enough, that's the flow of government work, and dissolving an agency is about one of the more critical things you can ever do. And my perspective all along has been, this is just going to take patience and continual pressure on them in a quiet way, if you will, quiet diplomacy to get them there. And I think it was effective. We finally got to this point. It took longer than I would have hoped, but other scenarios might have taken even longer. So with this in hand, we will now work with them to submit their application, and then we will proceed with the process of dissolution. I would like to think, if all goes well, we can get this concluded by the end of the year. We won't know that until we take in the application, send out comments, but right now I'm not aware of any other agency who would protest this occurring, namely CAL FIRE, who now serves City of Oroville by your action a few months back. And CAL FIRE, obviously Butte County has no concern about this. This is something that the fire agencies recognize must happen in order to improve service coverage. So it's good news, great news that we're finally got this far.
But there is a historical perspective that I'm starting to sound like Jane Dolan, aren't I? In the beginning, for 12 years, we helped keep them alive. LAFCo worked diligently, and we helped them indirectly, and my county found them money 12 years in a row to subsidize it. I helped them personally to pass two measures that where people actually tax themselves to try to keep it alive. But it points to how government is now. You can't afford a town to have their own jail. You can't afford to have small districts anymore. We just have to consolidate because of the rising costs attributed mainly to, believe it, I think, to salaries. And El Medeo just outlived its purpose, and sadly, because I grew up looking at it, I just want to let you know that we didn't just throw them under the bus. This was a long time coming. That was my point, Bill.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead some of these points. You can, because there's not a lot of new information, but I just want to highlight a couple of things that you can expect. The City of Chico's Valley's Edge specific plan, which is listed on the third page of your document. There's nothing new for me to add on that. But the rest, if you've read the paper or you read any comments, you can recognize that folks are loading up to oppose this project, and it's the same folks who opposed projects that came before this. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just that this is eventually going to come to us to annex this piece of land. And we put it in their sphere back in 2017, 2018. And we felt that they at that time demonstrated through their general plan and their environmental impact report that this area was an area that would be preferred for development. And this commission agreed with that perspective. So it's in their sphere. That doesn't mean it's an automatic annexation, mind you, but it does mean that we at least told the city, you can proceed in this area because it makes sense. And the reality why that makes sense to a lot of things is we can't go west past the green line. Going north, we run into drainage problems, and going south, there's additional issues. So the city really does not have a lot of growth opportunity remaining other than going into the foothill area, which I will argue is not the greatest place, but this is an area where they have been looking at this for probably 10, 12 years now when this first began. I'm only just telling you all this because this will be a contentious item as we move forward. Hopefully all of the legal guns will occur at the City of Chico meetings, but if they get past that, then I'm sure they'll be turned on us, and we'll do our best to defend the project as we can. and properly evaluate it and get it in front of you for a decision. But just know it's out there. And there's always one or two anymore. And the only other two issues that I just quick update on is we've been working on an MSR, and this has taken some time for a variety of reasons. One for the city of Oroville, just their city proper. And then there's a second one that we've been developing with the consultant on the Oroville sewage agencies, water and sewage agencies. So that South Feather, Low PUD, SCORE, Thermalito Water and Sewer District, and to an extent the city, but we're trying to not mix that one in. Shannon and I are right. We're at the end part of reviewing those. We have some changes to make. I can't guarantee you it'll be in the next couple of months. I don't know, but if it all works out to, if we can, we'd like to at least get the city of Oroville in front of you before the end of the year. And if we can do some really magnificent work, we'll try to get them both in front of you before the end of the year. But we still have some questions to answer on that.
Well, on the sewer, when we receive some one-time money, I brought it up verbally and received the votes to look at consolidation of the sewer in Oroville. So that would be an ask from LAFCo for the funding to do that.
Would that be something someone will reach out to me and tell me what I need to do to? Or would,
Yeah, because we should at least look at it. The people aren't served by 4 different sewer districts. A small area. It's
I'm happy
crazy.
to write up whatever we need to, Mr. Connolly. So if you can just guide me that way, I'll make it happen.
Yeah, because I want to know how much to ask the board for.
Okay. I would say off the top of my head, it's almost the number that almost always comes out is $100,000. It's just any more consultants. It's just an expensive process.
And then we would have something to present to the public,
which would be a great,
see what they think.
it would be a great tag team effort, if you will, between the MSR coming on board. It highlights their issues, their deficiencies, and the things that they do well, and then follow that up with a consolidation study based on that MSR. That would make a lot of sense. So I appreciate that effort, Mr. Connolly. And like I said, tell me what I need to write and who I need to write to, and I'll make it happen.
All right, we'll do.
Cal LAFCo item, I'll jump up to that real quick. We have the conference is this coming up in a couple of weeks, October 19th through the 21st. I will be attending, Shannon will be attending, our legal counsel, Mr. Connolly will be attending. The big news out of this is Mr. Connolly will be, if all goes, unless he doesn't do anything really, really egregious between now and then, stay off the internet, Bill.
Not riding my Harley down. It'll be all right.
He will become president of Cal LAFCo for the coming year, which for what it's worth, it took us a long time to just get him in the queue, if you will, and work our way up. But Bill's been playing good with the other children, so he gets to go forward.
Well, there was that one time I wrote that one letter that caused somebody to get out of my way, but yeah, you have to plan way ahead for this stuff.
And that's all that I have for you this morning. If there's any questions for me about anything I might have missed or you're thinking about, let me know.
No, anybody else want to go down to the conference?
That ship has sailed. Sorry.
Well, I was going to suggest they bring their own money, but you know. All right, we already had public comment. Were you here to speak on anything, Billy? Okay. At this time, then we're going to adjourn. We're going to meet here again, right here, Thursday, November 3rd, 2020 at 9 a.m. Meeting is over.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good job.